Welcome to a Better Divorce podcast, where we have conversations about the emotional, financial, and legal issues that are on your mind or should be on your radar if your goal is to keep your divorce out of court. I'm collaborative divorce attorney and mediator Andrea Vacca, and I know that how you divorce matters to your long-term well-being. That's why it's my mission to help you have a better divorce with as little acrimony as possible, so that you can create the best life possible on the other side of your marriage. Hello, this is Andrea Vacca, and I am solo today. I wanted to take this opportunity. I didn't want to have a guest on today because I wanted to talk about mediation. And as a mediator and as a consulting attorney in the mediation process, I've seen I've seen a lot that can make a mediation good, a mediation bad, and I want you to have a better mediation. I want you to get through, if you're choosing the mediation process, to get through it with as much ease as possible, get to the other side, and come out of it with an agreement that works for you. So I thought about some tips for you that I have about if you're going to use mediation, how you can make it a better mediation. That's what we're going to talk about today. So, first of all, just to be clear, when I talk about mediation, I'm here in New York. And in New York, when we have divorce mediation, it usually means that the clients are meeting with the attorneys. Well, I'm sorry, the clients are meeting with the mediator just alone. So I'm the mediator, say in the mediation matter, and my clients, the two people who are married, are sitting with me, either on Zoom or in person. They often have attorneys that they've been working with, but those attorneys are not in the room. They're usually in their own offices. They're working with the clients outside of the mediation room. So when I talk about mediation, that's how I'm talking about it. I know in other states and other places, mediators might always be in the room with the clients, but that's not how we do it in New York. Okay, so I just wanted to make that clear. So first of all, if you're looking to do mediation, you should understand that you're going to be sitting down with a neutral mediator, somebody who's trained as a mediator. I'm an attorney mediator. There are other types of mediators, but we've all been trained to mediate. We've gone through a very formal training on that. And when we're sitting down with you, we're going to expect, and you're going to have to promise that you're going to be transparent and honest. So rule number one, remember that being transparent and providing full disclosure is the most important thing. It's key. An effective mediation requires that you're both being truthful about what you own, what you owe, what your plans are. Perhaps you know you're going to be leaving your job. Perhaps you know that you want to move away from where you're living right now. Maybe you know something about your parents are going to be giving you a lot of money soon. You know that your future might look a little different than what it looks like right now. And your spouse or soon to be ex-spouse would want to know that information because that might color the whole agreement and what looks fair and reasonable to both of you. So remember, not only disclosing all your financial information, where you own accounts, what are in those accounts, what other assets you own, what debt you owe, what income you're earning, but what might be changing in the near future that would have an impact on the agreement you're reaching. Okay, so that's number one. Second, mediation requires both parties, especially when their attorneys are not in the room, to advocate for themselves. Okay, so you have to be willing and able to make requests for things that you need, to understand what you need, to ask questions that are important to you. If you have a very relationship that's very unbalanced, and one person is much more assertive, one is much more quiet and doesn't speak up for themselves, mediation is going to be a terrible process for both of those people. The one that's used to always getting what they want and the one that's cowering and not saying what they really want. It will be a bad outcome in the end because you might not ever come to an agreement. So you're doing all this work and then the mediation process will break down because it wasn't the right process for you. So you have to be able to be somewhat persuasive in what you want, explain why you want it, and then, of course, listen to what the other person is saying. Having legal advice is really important so that you can talk through with your own attorney those points that you want to make, the options that you want to explore. You having your own attorney, your consulting attorney, will help you feel more powerful, empowered, I should say, not necessarily powerful, but more empowered to speak your truth, have your voice, and make sure the mediation is considering everything that's important to you. And that helps me get to my third rule, which is to make sure you have ongoing advice from a mediation friendly lawyer. So, what's a mediation friendly lawyer? Well, how I define that is somebody who has perhaps mediation training of their own or has is a mediator and practices law or has experience working with couples or clients who are in the mediation process. They are going to have the mindset where they know that you're going to try to find a resolution that fits your situation. It may not be the best outcome. There's no winner take all in mediation, but they're there to support you so that you can have the outcome that will best serve your needs and your interests. And they understand that your spouse needs to be happy as well. You both have to feel okay with this outcome. So a mediation friendly lawyer is going to be able to advise you about the process, understand that you're giving and taking along the way. They'll be there to check in with them to say, can I talk to you about this option that came up in mediation today? I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. Can you help me process this? Do you think this could work? Or how should I go back and respond to that request? What should I be requesting in return? So they're there as a support system along the way as you need it. And of course, they're there at the end to review your agreement and make sure that it meets all of the needs and all of the things that you think it should be doing for you, that the mediation agreement that you come up with actually does those things for you. So I know people enter into mediation because they think it will reduce their fees and their legal fees, and it will. It doesn't mean it should eliminate all legal fees. I get concerned when I see people with complicated divorces, kids, finances, different types of assets being divided, not having attorneys. That's not smart. Don't don't cut yourself short. You're going through this whole process. You're ending a very complicated relationship, moving into the future. Make sure it's legally binding and viable. Okay, so mediation consulting attorney who's friendly to the mediation process is key here. My fourth rule is to make sure you understand that you're going to be focusing on your interests and what's important to you, not necessarily on what your position is. And a position could be, I want to keep the apartment. Okay, I want to keep the apartment. I love this apartment. I'm keeping this apartment. That's a position. Your interest could be, and I'm going to be asking as a mediator questions such as, why is staying in this apartment and keeping this apartment important to you? Well, maybe I'll hear about the second bedroom that serves as your home office, and that maybe the cost of the home and the carrying costs are quite low and rents have gone up, and you wouldn't be able to replace this home in another location. Maybe it's because it's so close to the kids' school, and you want to make sure that you can walk them to school still. And so there's so many reasons and interests that are underneath that position of I want to keep the apartment. So as you think about as you're going into what's most important to you, you can start asking yourself these questions. Why is that important? That's where we're going to find the ability to reach an agreement. When I know what's important to one party and the other, then I can see where there's some overlap and maybe you can each get what you want. So we're going to dig underneath that. So know your own interests and work with your attorney or allow the mediator to help you bring out what those interests are. And then remember your spouse has their own interests and you need to be asking questions about that as well. And actually, you don't have to assume what their interests are. You can ask, or the mediator will ask. So there's a lot of conversation happening in mediation around that issue. The fifth rule is that you need to give up your need to be right. You probably have been having the same arguments with your spouse for months or years about the same issues, and you have not yet convinced them that you were right, and they have not convinced you that they're right. And it's unlikely that will happen in mediation. And you need to be okay with that. You don't need to be right. You probably just want to be done. So Can you accept that you do not agree on this particular issue and still move on? You don't agree on something regarding the children. You don't agree on whether somebody should have gone back to work some years ago and has been not living up to their full potential financially during the marriage. You don't have to be right or wrong about that. We can just move on and say, how are we going to deal with where we are today and move forward? So if you need coaching to help you get over that, what might feel very resentful or anger, all these emotions that are coming up, we can help you process those emotions outside the mediation room. It's very important. My sixth rule is make sure you have a clear understanding of your financial situation and 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 what your financial situation is now and what your needs will be in the future. You need to Before the mediation process starts, at the very beginning of the process, the mediator will be asking you to provide a detailed statement of your assets and liabilities, what you're spending, what your expenses are now in this current home situation, and what you'll be. And then we'll start looking forward. What will it cost when you are no longer living together? What are the children's expenses? What are they now? What will they be in the near future? How will they be changing? People usually know what they own. Or people usually know what they earn. They don't usually know what they're spending. So it's very common to not to just have an estimate of what life costs. We need to know exactly what it will be because those things might be changing. Um, and then there are some assets that you might not know what they're worth. You might have a good idea about the value of your home, but what about stock options? What about other real estate you might own with other people is not in your, I don't know, it could be owned with family members or something like that. Even if it's a separate asset that you owned prior to the marriage, we need to gather all of this information. So if you own things with other people, we need to figure out what that is. Businesses, of course, need to be valued. So even if you think, oh, I'm waiving the business, he can keep the business, I'm fine with that. We need to probably know what the value of that business is. So you're making a very informed a choice to waive it. So it's very often as a mediator that I'm asking clients to or suggesting that they bring in a certified divorce financial analyst into the mediation process so that we call these people CDFAs. You might have heard me talk about it before. I've mentioned this a lot on this podcast, but CDFAs will help you make sure all of the proper information is gathered, and then we can bring in appraisers as needed for businesses and real estate, stock options, other assets that you have that are more complicated and don't necessarily have a value on a statement right in front of us. So make sure we have a clear understanding of the financial situation. And then remember, my seventh rule is that you remember you're there to reach an agreement. You're not there to win. Again, we talked about not needing to be right, but really the goal is to reach a resolution. Achieving a resolution requires work and efforts. We have to look at options. Maybe we'll be brainstorming different ideas. There's work involved to reach an agreement. It doesn't just fall on your lap. The mediator is not going to tell you what to do. I'm not a judge. Judges will tell you eventually after you're in the litigation process for a year or two or more, they might make a decision for you. That's not happening in mediation. You need to be ready and willing to pull up your sleeves and get to work and get to an agreement. And the more time and energy you can put into this process, the faster it will go. But everybody's different. So your spouse is going to be having their own process as well. But we want to bring both of you together and move you forward to reaching that agreement. And that is the focus of the mediation process. At the end of the process, I'm going to draft an agreement. I'm going to make sure you both agree with it. You'll sign it, and there you are now legally separated at the end of that mediation process. Then we can talk about a divorce after that point. But the point of mediation is that agreement. So In order to do all of these things, my eighth rule is to remember you're managing your own emotions and you need to treat each other with respect because your spouse is managing their own emotions. You may be angry and hurt. You may feel all kinds of difficult feelings right now, and your spouse is too. But you can't be disrespectful towards each other. You have to talk to each other like the human beings that you are. There's a saying, um, resentment is like taking poison and expecting the other person to die. So when I'm mediating with clients that are very feeling very resentful for whatever happened in the past, and all things have always happened in the past. That's why you're getting divorced. It really will impact how quickly we can move forward if the resentment stays there, because you will never be able to hear each other. And if somebody feels resented, they're not listening as well. It just completely bogs down the whole process. So you can't be disrespectful towards each other. You're not just trying to make nice with each other too. You just can't say, um, you just can't say mean things to each other, basically. If you're feeling certain things, keep it to yourself and always be looking to move forward and find solutions. Um, you don't want all these emotions to hijack the process. It will slow things down. It might break down altogether. So if your mediator or your attorney is saying, I think you should work with a divorce coach, or I think you should be talking to your therapist about this, or I think you should find a therapist, please listen to that advice. We're not saying these things because it will help us necessarily, except will help you get to an agreement. We're saying them because we know in order to meet your needs to get to an agreement, you're you need somebody to help you manage these emotions. All right, my ninth tip, my ninth rule is to be a problem solver. Okay, we need to look at the options that are being presented. We need to know that these options can be very creative. I love that's why I love mediation, because every family is so unique, and no two families are ever coming up with the same exact way of handling issues. So let's look at how we can bring your interests and your interests together and solve what feels like an intractable problem right now. There are solutions. I'm happy as a mediator to throw out some ideas based on what I'm hearing, what other families have done, but it might be very different where you end up. Fact is, let's look to say, how can we get there? And if you both go into it with that kind of idea that you're trying to solve a problem together, I'm pretty sure you'll be able to get there. My 10th rule is to be patient. Mediation takes time. It takes time to gather the information that you need. It takes time to get the advice that you need. It takes time to get on the calendar and make sure everyone's calendar, schedules line up. It takes time sometimes for one party to catch up to the other. One person is inevitably ahead of the other. One person inevitably wanted this divorce or wanted to end the marriage months or years before the other. And and that person always wants to be done and always has ideas and thinks they know how this will go. And the other person hasn't even figured out that you're getting divorced yet. And they're sitting in the mediation room and they're not ready. If that's your situation, you need to be patient with the slower person. That's how fast the mediation process will move. And it might feel like you're dragging this person through the mud right now, just trying to drag them along. But if you have patience and you give the process time, they will probably get to where you are and you can start moving forward pretty much. You have to slow down. They'll eventually speed up and you can start moving forward again. Everyone's different, can never know how long that might take. A lot of people come to mediation saying this should be simple. This will be over very quickly. I don't need lawyers. It'll be easy. The fact is, because you're human and your spouse is human and you all have your own emotions and you all have your own needs and ideas, it's never as simple as you would imagine. So if your mediator or your lawyer is telling you that you need that extra support, please listen to them, and that will help things move forward faster. And if your mediator is saying, I think we've hit a wall and I don't think I can help you because one of you is not doing what you need to do, or isn't taking this seriously, or is putting up too many barriers to resolution, You may have to end the process, but likely that's not going to happen. It happens so rarely. But listen to the advice of the mediator. They're telling you their truth because they've seen this before, and they will help you move this forward, if at all it can be moved forward. So those are my 10 rules for a better mediation. Hope this was helpful. And as I end all my podcasts, I do have a better divorce tip. And my better divorce tip today is to be open to having a mediation team. So find that friendly mediation lawyer and then take their advice, take the mediator's advice, find the financial advisor that you may need, find the coach or therapist that you may need. Put together your team that will help you legally, financially, emotionally to get that mediation agreement that you want and that you've invested your time and energy in and your money in, and to get the outcome that you want so you can move on with your life. So that's today's episode. If you want to know more about mediation, I have a free ebook. It's called Divorce Without Court, A More Peaceful Solution, where I explain a lot more about mediation and collaborative, because if mediation is not the right process, collaborative divorce may be. So you can click on the link in the show notes and we'll get that ebook out to you. Please like and subscribe if you like this episode. It'll help others find us. And this has been another episode of a Better Divorce podcast. We'll see you on the next episode. You've been tuning in to another episode of a Better Divorce podcast with Andrea Vacca. Thank you for subscribing, leaving your positive comments and reviews, and sharing the show with others. You can watch episodes at vaccalaw.com, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And you can listen through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more. Bye for now, and remember, you can have a better divorce.